Myself Afsha, high school teacher and English lecturer at Elizabeth High School and Junior College. Welcome back to my class. Today, let us move forward towards the fourth unit of our class 10th textbook. Okay, and before beginning with the lesson, just go through the face sheet that has been given on the front page of your lesson. What can you see there? Right, there is a pamphlet, we can say. There is a advertisement of a movie, that is Shri 420. What do you think? Why it might have given it here? Based on this, can you just predict the theme of our lessons? Okay, so the theme of our lessons is films and theatre. Okay, the main concept of our fourth unit is films and theatre. In this, the part 1, right, the part A will be Rendezvous with Ray. It's a story of two friends. Okay, one is a foreigner and other one is Ray, that is Satyajit Ray, who is very famous for his Apu trilogy. Okay, a movie trilogy in the sense a set of 3 movies having same cast and creed and characters, we can say. Okay, so Satyajit Ray is very famous for Apu trilogy. So this is a story of these two friends. Now let us go in detail. It was a unique friendship that developed between a French-Canadian priest and one of the world's greatest film directors, and had a singular impact on Bengali films, both academically and practically. So it was a very unique friendship between a Canadian priest. I hope you all know the meaning of priest, a holy person. Okay, so it's a friendship of a Canadian priest and the film director, as I have told you, that is Satyajit Ray. Okay, and it had a great impact on the Bengali film industry also. It was enrolled to India in 1961 at a stopover in the New York that 26-year-old F.R. Gaston Roberts was acquainted with the works of Satyajit Ray. So here the name of the priest is Gaston Roberts. So he was very inspired, okay, by Satyajit Ray, by the works of Satyajit Ray. Through the Apu trilogy, he found the world of Apu so fascinating that he saw all 3 films in one sitting. As I have told you, trilogy is something that will be having 3 movies, a set of 3 movies with same characters. It will be a sequence kind of thing. Okay, so he got inspired from Satyajit's movie Apu trilogy, that he watched all the 3 movies at the same time. And there began his long-standing love affair with the people of India and Bengali cinema and culture, which led to path-breaking work in those fields. In his latest book, Satyajit Ray, Essays 1970 to 2005, a compilation of his essays, as the name suggests, being published by Manohar Publishers, New Delhi, Roberts provides a scholarly original analysis of Ray's works, giving an insight into the greatness of Ray both as a person as an artist. So he have also written many essays on Satyajit Ray, in which he have written about the greatness of Ray as a person, that is as a human and as an artist. Artist in the sense he was a film director. So he was a very good person as well as very good film director. The Apu trilogy was in fact my first portal to West Bengal and its people, he told Frontline. In his youth, all he knew of Bengal was through Mircea Eliot's Learned Bengali, some of Tagore's poems and the Reader's Digest article on Mother Teresa. So what he is saying, Apu trilogy was the first portal to West Bengal and its people, right? It was the first impression, first introduction of West Bengal and its people, okay? Before that, he only knew about Bengal by Rabindranath Tagore and Mother Teresa. If the harsh image of poverty brought out by an article on Saint of the Slums haunted him, Apu's words came as reassurance. No Apu, Sarbajaya, even Harihar did not need my help, but how not to love them? I thought it was fortunate that I would soon be among them, he wrote. So actually he was very curious to meet Satyajit Ray. He got inspired by his works, right? Because before that he knows that Bengalis will be very poor and he have only learnt about their poverty. But by Apu trilogy he got entertained and very inspired, that he got interested in meeting Satyajit Ray. Roberts does not endorse the accusation of Ray's detractors that the master director made his reputation selling India's poverty to the West. What struck me most was not the material poverty depicted in the films, but the enormous spiritual poverty of some rich people is much more deplorable than material poverty, he said. So here what it is saying, Roberts does not endorse, right, the accusation of race. So he doesn't endorse the accusation of the race detractors, race movies, right, that the master director made his reputation. So by selling India's poverty to the West, he has sold the India's poverty to the West Bengal, he is adding here. And what he is saying, what struck him actually is not the poverty of India, was not the poverty that is depicted in the movies, but it is the spiritual poverty which will be shown by the rich people. Roberts does not speak with the arrogance of the West. I was here on a quest to know the world and in the process and to know myself. I did not come here to convert. In fact, I am the one who got converted, he said. So why he visited India or why he visited West Bengal means he was on a round to explore the world and explore himself, right? And what he is adding here, he did not converted by his own, right? He got converted, right? He was very inspired. But it took him 9 years after reaching Calcutta and joining St. Xavier's College to muster up the confidence to meet Ray in person. So after reaching Calcutta, that is Kolkata right now, right? So after reaching Calcutta also, it took 9 years for him to join St. Xavier's College, to muster up the confidence to meet Ray in person, to meet Ray personally. Although I wanted to meet him right away, I did not want to just go and see him like he was a living museum piece. I wanted to prepare myself, get to know his works more, so that when we meet, there could be a worthwhile dialogue. He said, when they finally met, it was the beginning of a close friendship that lasted 22 years until Ray's death in the year 1992. So what he is saying here, why it took 9 years for him to meet Ray means, actually he doesn't want to meet Ray just casually, right, just like seeing a museum piece, but he wanted to learn more facts about Satyajit Ray. Then only when they will meet, they can have a good dialogue between them, right? So that is what the reason it took almost 9 years. When they finally met, it was the beginning of a close friendship between those two personalities that lasted for 22 years, that is till the death of Satyajit Ray, that is in the year 1992. It was very quiet friendship that developed over the years. Manikda, as Ray was affectionately called by his friend. So Ray was having a Satyajit Ray was called as Manikda by his friends. They used to call him lovingly. Okay. So what he is saying here, it was very quiet friendship that developed over the years. Manikda was a shy person and always very discreet about displaying his emotions, said Roberts. Though to outsiders, Ray's massive stature, physical and intellectual might have made him come across as cold, aloof and even intimidating, he was in reality a very simple and unassuming man with a subtle sense of humor. So what he is adding here, Ray, this Manikda or Satyajit Ray, we can say he was a very quiet and shy person. Even though people look at him differently, people think that he is a different person, but he was very humble, very polite and a very simple man who was having a very good sense of humor. It was an unspoken arrangement between the two of them to meet on Sundays at 9 a.m. at Ray's residence on Bishop Lefroy Road, Kolkata. Ray would invite Roberts over for private screenings of his latest films and welcome comments on them. But this happened only after the friendship had cemented. For in early days of the dialogue, Ray's shyness prevented him from talking about his own films. So later on what happened, it became their habit to meet on every Sunday 9 a.m. It was their personal meetings actually, where Satyajit Ray used to show his new films, new scripts to his friend Roberts, on which he was supposed to give comments, right? Give feedback, we can say. But it was when their friendship became older, have grown older. But in their earlier days, Ray was very shy that he never used to show his movies, scripts to anyone. He was even shy of receiving compliments, said Roberts. To Roberts, the greatest mark of Ray's appreciation for him was that he often addressed the French-speaking priest in Bengali. In spite of my lack of elegance in that language and the fact that Ray knew both English and Bengali so well. So here what he's saying, he was even shy of receiving compliments. Right? Who? Satyajit Ray. He was very shy actually. The greatest mark of Ray's appreciation, right? The greatest thing in Ray was that he often used to talk to French speaking priest. That is, for example, he always used to talk in Bengali with French speaking priest, even though he knows English as well as Bengali, but he always used to speak in Bengali only. Ray's screenplay manuscripts were an art of themselves. Roberts says, handwritten in Bengali with notes in English for his set designer, with sketches here and there, and occasional staff notation of fragments of music. On Sunday morning, Roberts found Ray in a disturbed mood. A few well-known personalities of the city had visited him earlier to go through some of his manuscripts. So what happened? Now here, Roberts is beautifully picturizing about the works of Satyajit Ray. His scripts, right, his manuscripts, the scripts that he has written by his own were very beautiful and very interesting, we can say. Roberts says that handwritten in Bengali and notes in English and with pictures and notes at wherever required, right? So it was very beautifully picturized actually. On Sunday morning, Roberts found Ray in a disturbed mood. A few well-known personalities of a city had visited him earlier to go through some of his manuscripts. After they left, Ray found the Charulata screenplay missing. Ray was almost sure who the culprit was. I asked him whether he was planning to take any action, and he said no, and explained to me that he did not want to hurt the reputation of that person. I was absolutely stunned by his human concern, said Roberts. So what happened now? One Sunday, what happened? Roberts found that Ray was little bit upset or depressed, we can say. When Roberts tried to find out the reason, he came to know that one of his scripts, that is by name Charulata, a screenplay written by Satyajit Ray, was missing, and actually Satyajit Ray already know the person who have stolen that, but he did not wanted to reveal his names because it will spoil his reputation. By this, Roberts was very much inspired, right? Like Rabindranath Tagore, Ray stored his time like a colossus. Roberts writes, it is as if all Bengal was in Manikda. The rich and the poor, the powerful and the humble, the peasants and the city persons, children, teenagers, adults and old people, men and women. Satyajit Ray never discriminated between all these persons. Philosophically too, Roberts feels Ray took off where Tagore signed out. If one compares the last major prose piece by Tagore, that is Shabyatar Sankat, Crisis of Civilization, which he wrote at the beginning of the Second World War, which contains his immortal dictum that inspired. Now here the dictum is a statement that is believed to be true, okay, that in spite of what has happening, it would be a sin to lose faith in man. And the last three films of Ray, Ganashastru, Shaka Prashakha and Agantuk, the analogy becomes clear. So what he is saying here, Satyajit Ray randomly took Rabindranath Tagore's phrase after him, right? He also written in the same order how Tagore used to write. Main concept of the writings were philosophy. In these three films, Ray was at his most personal, and when some critics saw the films as didactic and verbose, he felt deeply hurt. For in last three films, Satyajit was directly talking to us, conveying his personal message on society and civilization. So, in his last three movies of Satyajit Ray, he was directly speaking to the audience actually, right, regarding the society and civilization. If the impulse that motivated his earlier films was aesthetics, in the last three it was self-expressions, and there we were denying him his right to speak. As the saying goes, no one is a prophet in one's own country, said Roberts. An agnostic throughout his life, It is possible Roberts feels that in the face of a death, Ray was searching for an answer. This was suggested by some of music that he used in Shakha Prashakha. So what he is saying here, in his last 3 films, he was directly speaking to the audience, right? And the critics who were criticizing the movie were indirectly taking his right to speak, actually, were snatching his right to speak from him. The last time the two friends met, Ray was in hospital on his deathbed. It was a Sunday and Roberts, true a bit, arrived on due at 9 a.m. So when they met for the last time, when Ray was on his deathbed in the hospital, right? And again it was Sunday, and as usual Roberts went to visit him at 9 a.m. sharp. He had grown so weak that he looked frail as a child. I did not stay long, and as I was leaving, Manikda said, "Bhalo laglo." It was nice. Those were his last words to me, said Roberts. So it was the last meeting of those two friends, we can say, in which the last words of Satyajit Ray was "Bhalo laglo." It means that's nice. It means that he was happy that his friend visited him. One important fallout of this friendship was the establishment of Chitrabani, a communication and film institute. So they have established Chitrabani, that was a institute, we can say, of communication and a film. The first of its kind in West Bengal, which Roberts founded in 1970, and to which Ray, as a token of friendship, lent his name as co-founder. So it was established by Roberts actually, but as token of friendship, he have added the name of Satyajit Ray as a co-founder. Ray was in the first governing body and after a few terms readily agreed to be the institute's advisor. Roberts arranged most of the initial funding from Canadian agencies. I had no reservations applying for them, for I feel richer countries in the West are indebted to countries like India, he said. For 26 years, Roberts was the director of Chitrabani, and under him, the institute not only produced important documentary features but also became breeding ground for local talent for filmmaking. So the main aim of Chitrabani was to hunt the local talent of filmmaking in India, or ultimately we can say the main aim of Chitrabani was to develop our country, that is India. So I hope you all have loved this lesson. I hope you all have got inspired by the friendship of these two personalities, that is Satyajit Ray and Roberts, right? So let us continue in our next class. Thank you.